Poetic tactics to counter extraction. What is it? What I'm gonna try and do, I think, is just hit record and then just try and record sort of everything, whatever comes out of this. This is, I think, really just an archive for myself. Try and understand how the project has changed over the course of the past year. And also just kind of go through the archive of stuff that I've accumulated. And then try to cut it all up, stitch it all together, see what happens. So this is a presentation that I gave to the cohort at School of Commons in April 2024. I guess the question that I was asking myself at the time was, what is a poetic tactic and why extraction? And what do poetic tactics have to do with extraction? So the idea kind of came out first out of this idea that kind of physical extractive processes are like behind all digital culture. So physical extraction of rare earth minerals, of physical materials, supply chains, all of that stuff kind of belied everything that was behind digital culture. But another thing to add on to that is that extraction is also everywhere as an ethos, as a kind of philosophy. It's a social norm. It's a way in which we work. And we really saw that during the COVID-19 pandemic and really extending beyond. Back in 2023, 2024, I was feeling really burnt out, and I just started reading poetry again. I read an essay by Audre Lorde called "Poetry is Not a Luxury." I really loved the way that she talked about how poetry should be used. That it was something that helps to give name to the nameless so it could be thought. It was something that gave us the sense of imagination for what might be possible. Because I had really noticed that in my own burnout, that my sense of imagination for something that could be different was so much smaller. Yeah, and poetry kind of gave me my sense of imagination back. Around that time, I was also reading a lot more about community organizing, bringing the community together, folks doing works in and around community with a capital C, but also community with a small c. And I really, really loved this person named Grace Lee Boggs, who was a longtime organizer based out of Detroit in the United States. This totally blew my mind when she said, even if we protest so effectively that we acquire state power, if we don't change our ways of thinking and relating to one another, we will only further develop this contradiction with new people in charge. And this contradiction for her was between technological overdevelopment and emotional underdevelopment, community underdevelopment. It really made me want to change the way in which I relate to the people around me, and made me want to change the way in which I relate to myself. And so when I was thinking about these kind of two types of extraction, physical extraction and emotional, psychosocial extraction, the things that really started working for me were around quiet and silence, listening. Deep listening was something that I was exposed to through Paulina Oliveros. But I also kind of saw the flip side of that, which was silence being also a sign of ecological death, or listening could also mean surveillance. And poetic tactics to counter extraction also became about like who pays attention, who is paying attention, who receives attention, who do we give attention, yeah, and who do we build quiet spaces for. So why am I recording this for my submission? I think it's probably because some of the places where I felt most extracted from have been online. And so there's something, for lack of a better phrase, maybe poetic about using the same medium that had made me feel extracted to maybe try and reclaim something from that, or maybe kind of weave it into the submission somehow. At least that was the idea. I had a period of maybe 5 or 6 months where I was reading poetry all the time. I was making creative work. I don't do that anymore. And so it makes me feel like this poetic tactics project was not successful because it didn't enable me to not feel extracted from, or didn't combat my own sense of extraction. Because I'm kind of right back where I started. But maybe the only thing that it's actually showing is that you have to be vigilant. And you have to be trying these tactics kind of again and again and again and again. And it never kind of stops.